Well, good morning. Chad Weber here, and I'd like to welcome you to our next video mini topic where we're going to talk about we're going to talk about something that I get asked about very, very frequently for the simple fact that as a loan officer, your job is to, well, be a loan officer, right? So what that means is that you're often busy doing loan officer stuff and you don't have quite the time nor the energy in many cases to learn new topics, specifically when these topics are tend to be more on the technical side of things. So in case you haven't guessed, we're talking about marketing topics. So again, this is something that I get asked about very, very frequently. How do you learn effectively and then absorb marketing topics? And a lot of these topics, guys, tend to be almost an entire industry. And well, actually, in many cases, they are entire industries in and of themselves, such as search engine optimization, SEO, lead generation, PPC, blogging, website setup. All of these things can be overwhelming and, in fact, very intimidating when you're trying to do what you need to do to be a loan officer, right? You wear a lot of different hats throughout the day. You got a lot of different responsibilities. So again, this tends to be something that gets put on the back burner. So today we're going to talk about how to learn these topics fast. And when I say fast, I mean a matter of days, as opposed to what for many loan officers ends up being the better part of a year or years, as in plural. Okay, so really looking forward to this topic, and I'm just going to kind of give you a bird's eye view here. We're going to start off by giving you a bird's eye view, and then we'll go and talk about exactly how this plays out. Okay, so don't worry about the how just yet. Okay, so we're just going to do an overview. So number one, the single best method for learning a new topic that is intimidating and that you've been putting off for a long period of time is to go and teach it to someone else. Now, I know this almost raises more questions than it answers when I say this, but don't worry, it's going to make sense here in the next couple of minutes. I'm going to cover how this all comes together, but let me explain how I used this strategy to learn topics that were initially very intimidating to me. And that is, I started off by teaching realtors. And when I say teach realtors, I mean I would go to the sales meetings of these agents and teach topics that I knew were mutually beneficial. So these were marketing grade topics. A lot of people ask, well, how'd you get so good at SEO and website building and marketing and all this stuff? Well, I taught it. I taught it first. And prior to teaching this to real estate agents, I had never even heard of the term SEO. Okay. So I had to learn it just like everyone else. So teaching these topics instantly elevates your status in the eyes of your target market. In other words, if you have a group of 10 loan officers all targeting a high performance realtor and they're all doing and saying pretty much the same thing and they're offering the same stuff, but one of them happens to teach topics that are relevant to that agent, who do you think is going to stand out? Because you have that teacher slash student dynamic where just the mere fact that you're standing there, you're the one standing there, you're the one teaching that topic, you tend to be viewed as more of an expert than the people around you. You tend to be more valuable than the people around you. You tend to be more in demand than the people around you. Guys, if you don't believe me, you really need to try this. It brings in a lot of business. I'll go over the how here shortly. But there's other ways. You don't just have to teach publicly like I did when I was building my business, which realtors were the number one source of my business when I first got started. There's other ways you can teach. You can teach in the form of making blog posts. You can teach in the form of writing articles. You can teach in the form of recording tutorial videos. You can teach in the form of podcasts or audio clips, downloads and giveaways. This is what we call bait when it comes to your landing pages, things that people will download in exchange for giving you their information. Even a Facebook post can be thought of as teaching a topic, even if it's just 60 or 90 seconds. I mean, look at these videos I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. These are short videos in comparison to my hour and a half to 2 hour long videos, but I'm still teaching a topic and it's still being viewed by a lot of people. So this is something that can help your business elevate your status and get you referrals far, far quicker and capture and improve your conversion to a far greater extent than practically any other one tweak you can make to your marketing. Now, when we talk about teaching a topic, that's when a lot of loan officers scratch their heads and say, well, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, isn't it kind of hypocritical to teach on a topic that I'm still learning myself? And my answer to that is absolutely not, just so long as you're not misleading your target audience. Don't pretend. Be upfront. Don't pretend to be a master if you're not a master. So let me explain how I used this when I was teaching SEO to real estate agents. One of the things that came out of my mouth right up front was, look, guys, I'm not a guru. I'm not an expert. I'm not a professional at SEO. In fact, I'm still in the learning process myself, and there's always new stuff to learn. However, the reason I'm here today is because what I've learned so far not only has helped my business, and not only do I find it exciting, I'm 100% convinced you're going to find it exciting what it can do for your business as well. So that's why I'm here. And this shoots down the number one concern most loan officers have, and that's, what if they ask me something I don't know the answer to? Aren't I going to look silly? Aren't I going to look goofy? And the answer to that is no, just so long as you're honest up front and let them know that, hey, I'm not a master, I'm not an expert, I'm still learning this stuff too. So if I can't answer your question, I'll find the answer for you. Okay, so don't pretend to be something that you're not. Number two, focus on specific aspects, or in this case, a topic within a topic. It's far easier to accelerate the process of learning something when you laser focus on very specific micro topics. So let's give an example. If all I wanted to do was, let's say I want, or let's look at a topic here for loan officers. Let's say credit. Let's say I wanted to become a master and the go-to guy of credit. Now, when I say the word credit, guys, that's pretty broad, isn't it? I mean, credit can mean everything from how to boost your credit score if it's low, to how to get approved, to everything in between. It can be an entire month or month and a half or 2 months process of learning to really get a good firm grasp on all the different areas. But if instead I said, hey, you know what? I want to become known as the go-to guy when it comes to credit for self-employed individuals. So I'm looking at a niche within a niche, right? So that can be extremely helpful because there's much less to learn then, as opposed to just trying to become an expert in all things credit. And that's what I mean when I say specialize in certain audiences or demographics, is find something very specific and become an expert at that. There's typically much less learning to be done, but you'll still be considered an expert when compared to the generalists, right? So it's like a general practitioner doctor versus an eye specialist or a ears and nose and throat specialist. You know, I mean, when you have the specialist, when somebody has a really specific problem, they view that person as more of an expert than the generalist. And that's how you want to be viewed. And it's much, much easier to learn those topics. So let's talk about how this really all comes together and why this happens. So your capabilities are influenced by your mindset. Now here's the problem, is you get a lot of these motivational speakers and these gurus that state, you know what, everything that you do in your success and or failure is influenced by your mindset. So really, you just need to get in the proper mindset before you begin work. And I have to disagree with that, because I think that is oversimplifying what for many people is just not possible. For myself, let me give you guys an example. When many of you know that I've done a lot of speaking in my life. I mean, even when before I was a loan officer, even at the age of 10, 11, 12, I mean, I've spoken to crowds as big as 15,000 plus people. All right. So I've done a lot of speaking. I've traveled. I've spoken for a lot of organizations, even SCORE, Small Business Administration. I've done a lot of speaking. And something that most people don't know about me is that I almost never have notes and I don't practice, as in at all. And I know that a lot of people frown on this and say that that's terrible. Why do you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And I know that I shouldn't. But here's something weird about me, is I just cannot, for whatever reason, there's this mental block when I try to sit down and prepare my stuff in advance. And that's why I do my webinars the way I do. I just do it all verbally. I just, hey, let's start talking. And yes, I have my slides. So I have my overall big points that I want to touch, but I don't have word for word or teleprompters and notes sitting next to me like everybody says you're supposed to do if you public speak. I show up, I have a couple topics written down, and I just talk. And the reason for that is I need a trigger, and that trigger for me is adrenaline. Now, I've done a lot of research on things like ADD and ADHD and all these other things, and maybe I have it, maybe I don't. But they say that's one of the big telltale signs is that individuals with ADD tend to need strong triggers and adrenaline rushes to get them to focus. And that for me tends to be the one thing that can focus me when it's time to speak. And when it gets close to my time to speak, suddenly the adrenaline kicks in. Okay, it's game time, and I put on this whole different hat, and my whole mindset changes, and suddenly I see everything much, much more clearly. And I just talk and let it flow. Say, hey, you know what? I know my topic really well, so it's just going to come out. Such as what I'm doing here right now. And a lot of people are actually like that, and that you need a trigger. Let me give you an example that you might be able to relate to. Have you ever had a horrible day? Now, when I say a horrible day, I mean you're sitting here and you're in a negative frame of mind and you're talking about all these terrible things. And when you're in a terrible frame of mind, you have these different hats on. There's different versions of you, right? There's the happy you, there's the sad you, there's the angry you. And like people say, when you get into an argument, your IQ tends to drop and you say dumb things and stupid things that later you go, how did I possibly say that? I can't believe I said that. Well, it's because that was a different you. Still you, but yet a different hat on, a different filter that you're seeing things through. And the same applies to our work, right? So let's say you're having this terrible day and it's the really upset version of you. And you can't seem to get out of this funk because you had a horrible day, horrible week, horrible month, whatever. But your phone rings and it's a close friend of yours, and maybe a close friend or relative passed away. And this person just really, really needs you. And they're saying, I just really need to talk to you. I need some advice. I need your help. Are you going to sit there and say, no, let me tell you how horrible my day was, blah, 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 and you sit there and be negative? No. No, you're a good friend. Instead, suddenly, you're saying positive and comforting things. You're saying words to them that just 30 seconds ago you needed to hear yourself, but you just couldn't dig down deep enough to get it. But now suddenly here you are giving that advice to someone else, even though you haven't taken your own advice. Is it because you've transported your mind and body to someone else? No, it's still you. It's just a different version. You're wearing a different hat. Seeing the world through a different filter because something triggered in your brain saying, hey, this person needs you. Here's what their expectations are. And our brain, we as humans, we don't want to let other people down when they have expectations of us. And that's the trigger. And that's why I say teach something is once your brain realizes, hey, there are people there expecting to hear good information, helpful information on this topic, suddenly that trigger kicks in. And you're remembering and learning and absorbing so much faster than if you sat down with the mindset of, hey, you know what? I don't like this topic. It's boring, but it's a necessary evil. So, oh well, let's learn it. Well, your brain hasn't been triggered into thinking, hey, this is important. Instead, it's like, hey, I really don't want to be doing this. So it's going to resist. So that frame of mind really does have a strong impact on how quickly you learn. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys is because I get asked this question all the time. You know, I'm so busy being a loan officer. How do I learn all these overwhelming topics that I know I need to learn, but they just seem to elude me? And this is how. Teach. Take my advice and give it a shot, guys. Even if it's just an article or a video, you know what? I don't want to sound dumb on my video, so when I'm studying this stuff, my brain's going to take a lot more serious because I have the right filter in place, I have the right mindset and the right trigger, right? And that's, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to look like an idiot. I want to impress people and I want to give them good information. And that mindset makes all the world of difference, guys. All the world of difference. So I hope you take my advice, just give it a shot, and then let me know how that works out for you. So let me know in the comments below. I hope that you've liked and subscribed to my YouTube channel as well as our Facebook group, Future Top Producers here on Facebook. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video, guys. Make it a wonderful rest of your day and rest of your week. See you next time, guys. Bye now.